Why renters are more vulnerable to interest rate rises than mortgage holders. Britain has become a nation of renters. Sky News looks at the data to see if that leaves us in a better or worse place as the Bank of England prepares a new interest rate announcement. Mortgage payers are now in the minority in the UK. Data from the census reveals that there are more people renting and more people owning their homes outright than there are people still paying off their mortgage. Within the EU, just 3 countries, Germany, Austria, and Denmark, have more renters as a share of their population than there are in the UK. Interest rates have risen from 0.1% to 5% in the last 18 months, and a Bank of England announcement on Thursday is expected to see rates rise higher still. Many mortgage payers, those paying variable rates or whose fixed deals have expired, have either been hit with significant rises to their monthly payments or been forced to extend terms, meaning they are paying off the loan more slowly. And there's more pain still to come. Sharply perhaps in coming months, there was a big spike of mortgages arranged before the pandemic-era stamp duty holiday ended. Any of those deals that had a 2-year fix will be coming to a close around now. But it's not just mortgage payers who are exposed to those rises, renters are vulnerable too. And they are typically in a worse place to start off with, spending more of their income on housing costs as a percentage, 33% on average, 42% in London, compared with 22% for mortgage payers. They are also more likely to live in non-decent standard homes, have lower savings, and lower incomes overall. What's happening with renters? Research by Zoopla estimates that around 60% of rented properties are mortgaged, with most of those on interest-only mortgages, meaning they are particularly exposed to rate changes. For the 2 in 5 Britons who are renters, a rise in monthly repayments is nothing new. Many landlords raise rent each year to keep up with inflation or market demand, even when mortgage repayments were staying relatively low. Now, however, those landlords whose repayments are going up could be forced to raise rents by more to ensure they aren't losing money month on month. That's what happened to Andy Michalakis, a 51-year-old in Stevenage who lives in a 3-bed house, currently surrounded by boxes containing her belongings, along with her 14-year-old son. Image: Andy Michalakis, 51, has been served an eviction notice after she disputed a rent rise. Andy says her landlord doesn't have a job, but lets out multiple properties that he owns and has a mortgage on the one she's been living in for the past 9 years. Through the time she's been there, her rent has typically risen by a manageable £25 a month each year. Andy explains that she would carry out maintenance like painting, fixing taps, and work in the garden out of her own pocket rather than at the expense of the landlord. She has never missed a rent payment. During the pandemic, there was no change to her rent, but at the beginning of 2022 it went up by £75 a month to £1,200. Less than a year later, her landlord asked for £1,300, which was too much to afford, particularly as Andy's work life and health had changed during the pandemic. Andy had to stop working for a time due to illness, and her work in the fashion industry was affected by lockdown, meaning that £100 extra her landlord was asking for represented almost half of all that she had left after paying the rent. Andy's family had already been helping out with shopping. Her sister would bring food while her brother would come through with toiletries and other essentials. She spoke to the council to explore her options in resisting the further £100 increase. They told her that the landlord was now asking for £1,425 instead, a 19% increase on the £1,200 she was paying before. Soon after, he issued a Section 21 no-fault eviction notice, starting the process of removing Andy from the place she had made her home for the past decade. Sky News tried to contact Andy's landlord via the estate agent and through the council, but he was unavailable to comment. The estate agent said they would not have asked for a rent increase as high as £225 because it was too much of a jump in one hit. More than 30,000 people have reached out to homelessness prevention support after being issued Section 21 notices since the start of January 2022, with the number rising more recently. Many people, like Andy, can't pass affordability tests on